Hurricane Oscar continues to impact portions of Cuba and the Bahamas. I'll show you where and the impacts I expect and what the rest of the month could bring our area tropically. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather, and it's great to see you on a Sunday. Hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, all the newest information on Hurricane Oscar, which is about ready to make landfall in eastern Cuba late on this Sunday. We'll talk about what's happening with the storm right now, where it's going, the impacts I expect. We've had more active weather across our area on this Sunday. We'll look at that, go island by island for your rainfall forecast, and then talk about what I expect the potential to be tropically in our area for the rest of October. As always, I'd love to hear from you guys. Appreciate all of our new subscribers. Thank you for finding the channel. Let me know in the comment section below where you're viewing from, what the weather has been like. We'll get right into it here. And again, maybe you stepped away for the weekend and weren't quite, aware of what's been happening. We got a hurricane that quickly developed here just east of the Turks and Caicos early on Saturday. This is Hurricane Oscar. Came from Invest 94L. It's been moving through the Turks and Caicos, southeast Bahamas. It's about ready to make landfall in eastern Cuba here late on this Sunday. Winds are still 80 miles an hour. It's a really compact hurricane. The hurricane force conditions are only expected about 10 miles from the center of circulation. We do have a little bit of wind down here on the southern side of the island at around 25 miles an hour. It's going to move inland, then kind of stall, bring some heavy rain to the eastern side of Cuba, and then bend back to the northeast and go back through portions of the southeast Bahamas and the central Bahamas. So places like the Acklins and Mayaguana and Inagua will kind of get hit by two different 1-2 punches from Oscar, if you will. Some late yesterday, today, and more impacts expected late Monday and into Tuesday. So the newest track from the Hurricane Center looks like this. Again, winds are 80 miles an hour at this point in time. Will be moving inland as a hurricane, will more than likely stay over eastern Cuba most of the day on Monday, lose some strength, and then move back to the northeast as a tropical storm through the central and the southeast Bahamas. Fairly slow movement, so we can have impacts in these areas all the way until Wednesday morning. Latest watches and warnings look like this. We have a hurricane warning in effect for the north coast of the Cuban provinces of Holguin and Guantanamo. Tropical storm warnings are in effect for the southeast Bahamas, and that's a change, by the way. No longer a hurricane warning for the southeast Bahamas. It's a tropical storm warning. I mean, tropical storm conditions are likely, but again, with Oscar moving inland into Cuba and then weakening, we're not expecting there to be hurricane conditions again as it moves back off the coast. Then for Cuba, you have the south coast of Guantanamo, the north coast of Las Tunas, and then a tropical storm watch is in effect for the central Bahamas and the north coast of Camagüey there in Cuba. So again, at this point in time, this is what the visible satellite imagery looks like. We'll swing over to our visible satellite imagery here. So that was the infrared. This is the visible satellite imagery. All those blues are going to be your tropical storm warnings. You have that red, that is the coastline of Cuba under the hurricane warning at this point in time. So again, Oscar moving in with winds of 80 miles an hour. It's a small storm and then bending back to the north and to the northeast. Now, I'm going to have a lot more on Oscar and the track and the impacts for the central and the southeast Bahamas coming up. But just to reiterate again, the tropical storm warning is in effect for Mayaguana, Crooked Island, the Acklins, Long Key, Ragged Island, and Inagua, and then the tropical storm watch for the central Bahamas. That's Cat Island, Exuma, Long Island, Rum Key, and San Salvador. That is not in effect as far north as Nassau, New Providence, and the Freeport, Grand Bahama areas. A little bit too far off towards the south. So again, decent looking storm, about ready to move on shore. Let's go back over to, I'm going to bring up the kind of the IR and visible, what we call it the sandwich here. It's both at the same point in time. Again, just a really small storm, but we do expect hurricane impacts right here. So the winds are going to be freshening up. It will then move through eastern Cuba. And by the way, 5 to 10, maybe 15 inches of rain across eastern Cuba. There is some higher terrain here, so it should knock down that storm a bit. And then again, moving back as a tropical storm for the next couple of days with some impacts, with some heavy rain and obviously some wind and some really rough sea conditions for the central southeast side of the Bahamas and even portions of the Turks and the Caicos. We're going to get a lot more into what's going to be happening here with Oscar coming up in just a second. Let's get into, we do this kind of chronologically here at Meteo Mundo. We're going to get into what's going on the rest of our area on this Sunday, and then we'll deep dive into Oscar and everything else happening as well. Go back over to the infrared satellite imagery here. It's been a quieter day up on the northwest side of the Bahamas. It's been fairly breezy. Again, we have a cold front that has worked its way all the way down into the central Bahamas, which is why we're putting the brakes on Oscar, and it can't go any farther to the north and to the west. It has to bend back north-northeast. Some of the winds have been significant across the Florida Keys. It looks like near the Marathon area, they just had a 50-mile-an-hour wind gust, but it's been all dry weather there. Starting to get a few showers and storms to develop over the Cayman Islands. Maybe just south of Grand Cayman, good lightning there. A few passing showers for Grand Cayman. The opportunity for Little Cayman and Cayman Brac to pick up some of those showers as well. And again, this is an area when we get back into Quintana Roo and Central America that were obviously just impacted by Tropical Storm Nadine. And now we're even getting more showers and storms here. Cancun, Cozumel, Tulum there, showers and storms. Merida, excuse me about that, on over towards the Campeche area. Chechemal, nice little 30-mile-an-hour breeze there in the southern sides of Quintana Roo. And then showers and storms are moving back into some areas that have already had some excessive rain in Belize, San Pedro, Belize City, San Ignacio, Belmopan, Dangriga, back down towards Punta Gorda there as you get down towards Guatemala and portions of Honduras. Now, keeping an eye out for my friends in Belize. Got this video in from Hurl Hamilton. We're watching for the river rises behind Tropical Storm Nadine. This is Belmopan City. This is the Belize River, talking about how that river is rising as we speak. And that can be a delayed problem from landfalling tropical systems, right? Especially with areas of elevation like Belize has, especially inland, flowing back down to the lower areas. These river rises can occur days after the initial rainfall, so we have to watch out for that. I'll monitor the situation. Looks like a fair amount of Belize got exactly what we expected, 4 to 8 inches of rain or 100 to 200 millimeters as a Nadine total. But again, more is developing right now, and that could exacerbate some of the problems there to go along with some of the flash flooding. So if you live in Belize, and I really appreciate all my friends here sending in all the pictures and videos, let me know how you guys are doing post Nadine, if you guys are seeing any flooding in your area. Scattered showers and storms continue over portions of Honduras and Nicaragua. Still got this nice little Central American gyre, friends. We still have this spin and the opportunity for more rain for Costa Rica and Panama. And this area, again, has an opportunity to be an area to watch out for potential tropical development here down the road for the rest of the month. My friends in Jamaica, relatively quiet days so far. A few passing showers, an isolated thunderstorm, absolutely possible. We're just trying to here get a little bit of that towards Yaulis, on over towards Morant Bay. So an isolated shower and storm there towards the Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town area could drift by. Look, it's going to be isolated. Not a lot of areas of Jamaica will get some rain, but that opportunity will be there. Now, slightly better chances as Oscar moves inland and pushes some moisture south and west. So maybe even overnight, the opportunity for a few showers there, and then on Monday as well. Been a fairly quiet day, believe it or not, even though we're really close to Oscar here in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Even the Turks and the Caicos, things have quieted down. And again, want to check in on our friends there, Grand Turk, other areas that got more direct impacts by Oscar. Let us know how you guys are doing. But not a lot of rain in these areas on this Sunday. Same situation right now for Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Again, we've had a few spotty showers, but nothing that is extremely widespread. This is going to change, though, in short order. Now, an area that has had more rain and will continue to have fairly unstable conditions is most of the Lesser Antilles. Those are the air temperatures here. You can see it's hotter in the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and then here comes that cooler weather with the rain for places like Anguilla, St. Bart's, Barbuda, Antigua, Montserrat, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, especially back down towards Guadeloupe and Dominica and Martinique. Nice little 33-mile-an-hour wind there. We are going to see on the tail end of Oscar some moisture linger, and then a trough coming in, which is going to lift up all of that moisture and give us better chances for showers and storms the next several days. There's going to be unsettled weather for the entire Lesser Antilles, where from time to time between now and Wednesday, we're going to get spurts of heavy rain, some squalls, some gusty winds, and some good downpours. It's not going to be area-wide every day, but that opportunity is going to be there. And you can see some of those nice bright white clouds all the way down towards St. Lucia. It's been a little bit quieter today for Barbados. We've had a few showers over St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as I go back over to our enhanced satellite imagery. You can see some of those showers coming down there. We've had a few showers over Trinidad and Tobago. We're actually going to favor Tobago for some of the better rain chances over the next day or two, but that doesn't mean portions of Trinidad won't catch some downpours. Nueva Esparta, showers and storms kind of building south of you. Venezuela, Suriname, Guyana, all with good rain chances on this Sunday. And even though we haven't had a lot of rain today for the ABC Islands, that rain chance going back up here as we move into early next week. Friends, as we get into the forecast, I really do appreciate you guys taking a quick second and liking this video. I want to welcome all of our new subscribers here to Meteo Mundo. We have a great weather community. If you haven't subscribed yet, click that button right now. You want these daily forecasts. You want your tropical updates. Thank you for sharing this video with your family and friends. And all the ways to support me here at the channel as well via our memberships, just 99 cents a month. That's the join button. Super Thanks, where you can donate whatever you would like to. And you can find other ways in the description below. But again, always appreciate you guys watching. I didn't mean to take myself off camera. I meant to hit this button because now we're going to get back into the forecast for Oscar, and then we're going to go island by island for the rain forecast coming up. So let's break down again kind of what's happening at this point in time. Still a hurricane. Hurricane force winds only extend 10 miles from the center of circulation. So we're not looking for this to be a large impactful hurricane as far as those kinds of conditions, except for the far northeast coast of Cuba. But the tropical storm conditions will be expected far and wide compared to the hurricane conditions. Now again, moving inland right now, the worst conditions are on the north side of the eye. As Oscar pulls back north and east, we're going to have the heaviest rain and the strongest winds on the east side of the storm. So it is going to be the southeast Bahamas that will have worse weather compared to the central Bahamas, which is why you have a tropical storm warning compared to the tropical storm watch. And the very interesting thing about this is with all of the dry air on the western side of the storm, and let me show you that, guys. Look at all this red. This is that cold front, all of the dry air. There's going to be a really sharp line from where we have heavy rain and where we have nothing, okay? Places like Cat Island may get very little rain, but have some very gusty winds. And then places like the Acklins and Mayaguana could get very healthy rainfall totals, 3 to 5 inches, locally up to 8. But what I'm saying is on the west side of the storm, wherever the center tracks, even close to the center, I don't expect there to be a lot of rain. This is going to be a very lopsided storm with all the heavy rain on the eastern side, but we will have wind gusts more in a circumference compared to the basically semicircle of rain on the far eastern side of the area. So let's get into some of the model data here on Oscar. We'll bring up the GFS first. We'll take a look at all the different models for you guys. We'll ramp this up over the next couple of days. Now again, Oscar is expected to be a very slow-moving storm here for the remainder of its time over Cuba and the Bahamas. It's more than likely going to sit over Cuba for about 18 hours at the minimum before it comes back offshore and then slowly turns up to the northeast. Again, you can see that even on the GFS, and it's even more ragged than what Oscar really is, if you kind of slice the storm in half, you have much more rain on the eastern side. And again, when we talk about places like Exuma and Cat Island and Long Island and stuff like that, yeah, you're going to have a few passing showers and squalls, but it's just not going to be as persistent or as significant as areas east. And then you get up towards Eleuthera and New Providence and Andros, and probably very little impacts outside of some higher sea conditions. And by the way, a lot of you have asked me about cruising in the Bahamas for the week ahead, including my brother, Rob, who apparently has a cruise in the Bahamas this week. Thanks for the invite, buddy. I appreciate it. Enjoy. What I told him is what I'll tell you guys. Anything beyond Wednesday looks pretty good, right? And for the Northwest Bahamas, like Nassau and Freeport, which are the bigger ports for the cruise ships, not really as much significance there. Now we'll look at the seas. Those might still be elevated Wednesday and Thursday. I never give specific vacation advice, but just overall, the weather is going to be improving here as we go through Wednesday, but it's going to be rough the next couple of days. Let's take a look at the NAM model real quick. I'll bring up the NAM and we'll loop that up. Slightly different output. We'll take a look at the European model coming up as well. Now, again, we still have a really sloppy storm, and we'll look at the wind profiles out of this as well. So this is going to get knocked down pretty good. And more than likely, it's going to be a weaker to moderate tropical storm here Monday, Tuesday, early on Wednesday. We might have some 50-mile-an-hour sustained winds and some higher gusts. You see the NAM has a little bit more rain on the western side, but we still favor the Acklins and Inagua and Mayaguana and the Turks and the Caicos for more heavy rain and some pretty breezy conditions out of it as well. But just to show you another kind of example of what the models are bringing, and then let's look at the wind profile out of this as well. And again, this is going to be sustained winds. Now look, there's going to be very gusty conditions in the northwest Bahamas and portions of Cuba and even the Cayman Islands from that north wind from that cold front, but it's not directly related to Oscar. We're going to have more moisture getting pulled back into Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and certainly on over towards the Lesser Antilles, and we'll look at that as well. But as we show you here on the NAM model, we never really get anything too much more organized to come back, right? So these winds are going to be relatively quiet for us here. I'm going to go back over real quick to the GFS as well. I think it has a slightly better handle on this in the short term. You can see those bright whites. Those are going to be your strongest winds. Notice how those kind of hang over eastern Cuba for a while here and then work their way back up to the north and to the east. But again, not really expecting this thing to hold together. And there's an opportunity that this could really fall apart a bit over the central and southeast Bahamas. That would be great. Would still bring some very heavy rainfall potential there as well. So let's look at that. The arrival of the tropical storm force winds. This is what I'm talking about. For these areas, we're deep into Tuesday and we still have impacts. It probably won't be until early Wednesday that the whole system begins to fully pull away. So for the areas, and some of these for the second time, the weather goes downhill late Monday and really on Tuesday. That's the main impact for the Bahamas, getting out very late Tuesday night and then into early on Wednesday. So these are my overall thoughts on the storm. Hurricane impacts for eastern Cuba, small area, but we could have winds of over 80 miles an hour. Tropical storm impacts, certainly for the southeast Bahamas, possible for the central Bahamas. Rainfall potential, 5 to 10 inches, locally up to 15 through portions of eastern Cuba. It's 3 to 5, maybe up to 8 in the southeast Bahamas. And again, not a lot of rain expected right now for the central Bahamas. Winds of over 80 for portions of Cuba, 40 to 65 in some gusts for the Bahamas, hopefully on the lower side of those. Here is the European model, deterministic main model run of the European with Oscar. It's about the same as the GFS, about the same as what the Hurricane Center has, lingers over eastern Cuba, actually almost nearly kind of loses its center here for a bit because it stays there through early Monday morning and then finally pulls back up, slightly stronger, but still a moderate tropical storm at best, through the central Bahamas. All the worst weather is on the eastern side, and then it pulls away. Now down the road, obviously be paying very close attention to our friends in Bermuda, whether this might bring some impacts there. The HAFS A, I just wanted to kind of show you the strongest outlier storm. We can discount, if you will. If you look in the bottom right-hand side of your screen, it actually tries to bring it in as a Category 3 major hurricane, but I just wanted to kind of give you the spread of the models there. But again, it's near landfall as a Category 1, shouldn't really blow up much more than that. I mean, I suppose there's a very small chance that it creeps up to a low Cat 2 before landfall, but I'm not expecting that. Then if you look at the right-hand side of your screen, the bottom right-hand side, you'll see as it moves back through the central and southeast Bahamas, winds come back down to around 45 to 50 miles an hour. Those are sustained winds, and then there would be some gusts more than that. So I don't want to discount the impacts that we could still see in the central and southeast Bahamas, but just not nearly as strong of winds as what eastern Cuba is going to be. But again, squalls, some heavy gusts. You guys do need to prepare for tropical storm conditions in these areas. Now, down the road, if I take the GFS model out here, and we'll get into the rest of the island by island forecast as well, and I loop this up just for you, our friends in the Bermuda area here, it opens up. Probably isn't tropical as it moves by your area, but there's the opportunity for some bursts of some heavier rain here as well. So if we go back, as we kind of get into midweek, you can see it beginning to open up right now with the drier air on the western side, but I'll monitor the situation for Bermuda here by midweek. Let's get into the rainfall forecast for the rest of our area. We're going to go island by island, then we're going to talk about the tropics for the rest of the month as well. Let me bring this back down to just over the next couple of days. So a couple of interesting features to talk about here and how this is going to be impacting our weather. First of all, again, we still have our Central American gyre. Now, what is left over from Nadine could still redevelop in the Eastern Pacific as it moves away, but we're also still pulling in a fair amount of moisture in portions of Central America and the Yucatan. So rain chances for Cancun and Belize City and Tegucigalpa and San Jose still going to remain on the relatively high side over the next couple of days. I expect scattered showers and a few storms for the Cayman Islands and Jamaica, but again, no direct impacts from Oscar for the most part. Again, maybe a few showers trying to sneak on the northern side of Jamaica tonight, early on Monday before the storm pulls back away. So it's more spotty in nature for my friends in Kingston and Montego Bay and Negril, Grand Cayman. Again, Northwest Bahamas, you guys are much drier, beautiful weather, breezy and dry. Very elevated sea conditions as well. We're going to look at those sea conditions coming up. And again, all the heavy rainfall, central, southeast side of the islands, more in the rainfall as well. Rain will begin to improve as we see south winds coming back into the Dominican Republic and Haiti. As Oscar moves up to the north, these winds are going to turn out of the south. As a matter of fact, since I'm talking about it, what do you say we bring those winds on as well? Let me go back over here to the reflectivity. Excellent, and bring those up. So this is a great idea of why we're going to start to see more rain coming back in here. So I'm going to put that back up, loop it up. It'll take just a second, but winds are going to start turning more out of the south as Oscar pulls away. That's going to bring in deeper moisture for Santo Domingo and Port-au-Prince and Santiago de los Caballeros as well. We're going to also see a southeast wind pick up over Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and that will bring higher rain chances to the area as well. And then as a trough, almost kind of a weak tropical wave moves in with really fresh east winds, you can clearly see that here over the next few days. Rain chances and very gusty winds are highly likely for most of the Lesser Antilles. Just kind of unsettled weather overall. Does it mean it's going to go gangbusters in any one spot every day? Absolutely not. But pretty darn good chance for some rain in these areas through Wednesday. And I'm talking about Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda. So again, if you take a look at things here, you can see that Antigua, Barbuda stays with an east to a southeast wind. These purples, by the way, we're getting into that 20, 25 knot range from time to time. And gusts, St. Martin, St. Barts, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Montserrat, all the way down the island chain. More of an east wind, but it could swing a little bit out of the east-southeast from time to time. Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, down towards Trinidad and Tobago as well. Fresh east winds will rip in through Nueva Esparta, and scattered showers and a few storms are actually slightly on the improve for Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao as well. I'm actually fairly optimistic we get some downpours in these areas over the next couple of days. So this is what the island by island rain outlook looks for you guys. Again, low chance Northwest Bahamas, exceptionally high Central and Southeast through Tuesday night, and then we cut the faucet off on Wednesday as Oscar moves away. It will get drier. Turks and Caicos, 80% chance for showers tomorrow, 60 Tuesday, 30 on Wednesday. Cuba's rain chances, eastern side of the island, exceptionally high. Flooding, landslides, mudslides, all a big problem there, especially there is some terrain in the eastern side of Cuba. Some of that could cause some problems with 5 to 10 plus inches of rain expected. Cayman Islands, scattered rain. Belize City's best chance is tomorrow, then lower Tuesday, Wednesday, scattered for Cancun and Cozumel. Nothing better than the 30 to a 40% chance the next few days in Jamaica. Rain chances will be good for the Dominican Republic over the next 3 days. Slightly lower Puerto Rico, U.S. and British Virgin Islands on Tuesday, higher tomorrow, higher back on Wednesday. Bermuda's rain chances will continue to climb as whatever Oscar could be near that area approaches with nothing else, at least a big shield of rain to be monitoring. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, 60 to a 70% chance the next 3 days. And we're just as high, especially on the northern side of the Lesser Antilles. It'll be a little bit lower south, but still not bad. Antigua, Barbuda, 60 tomorrow, 70 Tuesday, Wednesday. Montserrat climbs up to a 70% chance on Wednesday. Guadeloupe, Dominica stays high. Martinique, 50 to a 60% chance. Right around 50 each day for St. Lucia. Again, some gusty winds are likely as well. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a 40 to a 50. Slightly tomorrow, drier tomorrow in Barbados, higher Tuesday, scattered on Wednesday. And you can see slightly lower Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, but the chances are still going to be there. Pockets of heavier rain. Also, again, elevated sea conditions. We have a yellow alert for Trinidad and Tobago for that already. Suriname and Guyana, 50 to 60% chance most days. Nueva Esparto, 30% chance, and then a 40%. That's pretty good for the ABC Islands the next couple of afternoons. Again, rainfall totals could be very prominent. Eastern Cuba, then back in the central and the southeast side of the Bahamas. Portions of Mexico as well still could have some heavier rain there near Honduras and Guatemala and Belize overall. These are just good, solid rains in most areas. Very clear to see the impacts of the front that has dipped all the way down into this area, and still are fresh east winds with some good rain. But, you know, 3, 5, 8+ inches. The highest amount on this map is actually 20, and I really hope that's not going to fall over eastern Cuba, but double digits is a possibility in these spots. All right, wave heights and directions, again, for cruisers, for boaters in general. First of all, for the southeast Bahamas, next couple of days, 8 to 12 foot seas, okay? Small craft should remain in port. But even up into the northwest Bahamas, Grand Bahama, Nassau, New Providence, it's 4 to 6 in sheltered locations, but you get to the exposed waters of the Atlantic, it's up to 10-foot swells. All right, so please be very cautious. Swells will also be very prominent in the Lesser Antilles as well. Some of the western sides of the islands could have some high impacts from that. It does get a little bit calmer in the central side of the Caribbean, and hopefully a little bit lower seas into the western Caribbean as Nadine has pulled away. But we got to be careful about all of that for the next few days. Let's talk about how the rest of October could play out with the potential for development here tropically, okay? Once we get rid of Oscar, we're going to be relatively quiet for the next week ahead. We always have to closely monitor, but as we get towards the end of the month here, right? So now we're looking more in like the 7 to 10 day time frame, but I just thought it was a good time to talk about it. You notice that the GFS model has several areas of potential development on the ensemble products right at the end of the month, and it's all kind of homegrown. Same situation that we were watching with Helene and that we just had with Nadine, and that's still that Central American gyre, that spin, and the opportunity to produce some areas of disturbed weather tropically into the Caribbean as we get towards the last few days of October. We don't see a lot for next week, but then as we get into early next week, after that, it could. European model is about the same thing. Oscar blows away. You can see we're quiet through next Sunday, and then beginning early to midweek after that. So in the 7 to 10 day time frame, and the European model is relatively lit up here with several areas of potential development. Again, all developing in the Caribbean rather than coming in with a wave through the Atlantic. This would all be something we'd have to watch out for development very close to home. So that's what I'll be monitoring here as we push towards the end of the month. Got you covered. You know, we'll talk about it daily, you know, as it comes and as it needs to be talked about. Friends, I appreciate you guys following us across all social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video like so many of you had recently, and I love it because it really helps to tell a story. myMediaMundo@gmail.com. You have a specific question about the forecast, drop it in the comments section below. While you're down there, again, thank you for liking and subscribing. Really do appreciate the support. Friends, have a great rest of your Sunday. Back tomorrow with all the latest on Oscar and the rest of the forecast across your area. Until then, be well. I'll see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.